Hello and welcome to this NET English pronunciation video. In this video we're going to be running through key character, author and location names from our Year 7 curriculum. In the video we'll run through key names and I'll be repeating and providing a phonetically written version of any names that are commonly mispronounced. Right, let's start with our first text of the year, which is A Midsummer Night's Dream. Now, you do often find there are characters in this play whose names are frequently mispronounced. So let's start with Theseus. 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 Emphasis on the first syllable. Now, Hippolyta, the second name on the list here, this is a frequent mispronunciation. So it's pronounced Hippolyta. Hippolyta. Now, where you find mispronunciations, you often find things like Hippolyta, Hippolyta, that kind of idea, but it's Hippolyta, emphasis on the second syllable. Now the third name on the list is the most commonly mispronounced name that we find. Now you pronounce the name Aegeus, it's Aegeus, but what you do find is that people pronounce it as Aegeus or Aegis or even Aegeus sometimes, but it's Aegeus, emphasis on the second syllable. Now, Demetrius is fairly straightforward, as is Lysander, Oberon, and Titania. So that's Demetrius, second syllable emphasized, Lysander, second syllable, Oberon, first syllable, and Titania, which is on the second syllable. Now, in our second half term, we have, of course, got our poetry scheme. Now, most of the names and most of the poems in this are fairly straightforward, but there's a few just to check through. So one of the poems is Mamet's Wood, and that first word is pronounced Mamets, with the emphasis on the first syllable, Mamets. In terms of writers, there are three writers whose names are sometimes mispronounced. So the first one is Wilfred Owen. So that's Wilfred Owen. And the emphasis in Wilfred is on the first syllable, and in Owen, again, it's on the first syllable. Wilfred Owen. There's Siegfried Sassoon. Siegfried Sassoon. Emphasis in the first word, Siegfried, on the Sieg, the first syllable, and in Sassoon on the second syllable. So Siegfried Sassoon. And then last but not least, we have the writer Imtiaz Darker. So that's Imtiaz Darker. So in Imtiaz, emphasis on the im, and in Darker on the dark. So that's Imtiaz Darker. Now again, in the Gothic fiction scheme, most of the names and places and writers are fairly straightforward, but there's a few just to check through. Now in the text Frankenstein, of course, we have Victor Frankenstein. So that's Frankenstein. In The Raven, we have the character Lenore. That's Lenore. There's the text Wuthering Heights. That's Wuthering Heights. And in that text, we have two characters. There's Heathcliff, that's Heathcliff, and there's Catherine Earnshaw, that's Catherine Earnshaw. In Dracula, most of the characters are straightforward, but that is Dracula. And then last but not least, in Interview with a Vampire, we have this character, Louis de Pont du Lac. That's Louis de Pont du Lac. In terms of writers and places, obviously there's Mary Shelley, that's fairly straightforward, and there's Edgar Allan Poe. So that's Mary Shelley and Edgar Allan Poe. Emily Bronte is fairly straightforward, but that's Emily Bronte. There's Bram Stoker, and then of course there's the place name Transylvania. Transylvania. Now in term 2b we have our travel writing. Again, most of the names are fairly straightforward. In terms of the texts, we of course have letters written during a short residence in Sweden, Norway and Denmark, all very straightforward. Just care around people at the abyss, it's abyss. And of course we have Lake Malawi's Lost Resort, and that's Malawi. In terms of writers and places, for the first writer, there's two pronunciations you tend to find of her surname. So there's Mary, and it's either Wollstonecraft, that's Wollstonecraft, or sometimes Wollstonecraft, Wollstonecraft. So it's either Mary Wollstonecraft or Mary Wollstonecraft, and both are valid. We have John Howard Griffin, fairly straightforward. And then we have John Krakauer. That's Krakauer. Now the next writer is Marina Levicha. That's Marina Levicha. You do sometimes find it pronounced Marina Levicha. There's Henry Mayhew. That's Mayhew. And Ewan McGregor. That's Ewan McGregor. Now, in terms of flowers for Algernon, most of the names are fairly straightforward, but there are a few character names and a few writers' names from the broader texts, which you do sometimes find pronounced incorrectly. So characters-wise, first of all, we have the two doctors. There's Dr. Strauss, that's Strauss. Dr. Niemer, that's Niemer. We have Miss Kinnian, that's Kinnian. And of course we have the mouse, who is called Algernon. That's Algernon. Now the common mispronunciation is actually of the mouse's name, and it's things like Algernon, which is a frequent one, but the name's pronounced Algernon with a soft j sound. Now in terms of the wider texts, there is of course the text by T.B. Puyu, that's T.B. Puyu. We have John Steinbeck, that's John Steinbeck, and of course the poem about Mrs. Tilsher's class, so it's pronounced Tilsher.